Hey, and good Thursday morning, everybody. Meteorologist Greg Majeski back with you here on the Weather Nerds YouTube channel with your weather report here on your October 30th, 2025. Boy, it's been a kind of crazy last few days as we watch. If you see over there, what's there of Hurricane Melissa, which is blown up into this massive storm. I was kind of advertising that. Why I said once it got past the Bahamas, it's really going to open up, and it sure has. It's a pretty massive storm out there in the Atlantic. That's going to come with a lot of surf along the eastern seaboard. But so goodbye, good riddance. It's still got to go by Bermuda. Once it does that, should be okay there, and we should see things improve. All right, so on this update, we're going to talk about some of the frosty conditions here across the country. We'll also talk about how a big part of the country is going to be pretty quiet, except for the west coast and northeast. You guys are going to get hammered pretty good with some pretty good rains here with the upper level low that's kind of spinning up that way right now. We'll take a look at some of the radars out there. And then we're also going to talk about what the long range is kind of looking like. Europeans kind of hinting at something a little different than what the Climate Prediction Center is showing, so I'm going to show you both those as well. Now, if you're new to this broadcast, you come to this after the fact. Let me introduce myself. I'm meteorologist Greg Majeski. I'm your no-nonsense weather guy, okay? Been doing this for a long time. Broadcast meteorologist. I do freelance work for Fox 5 Atlanta, and I do my own little local channel here across North Georgia. So if you like a no-nonsense approach where we don't treat every storm as the storm of the century, please consider subscribing to the channel so I can give it to you straight. Model here is real simple, to keep you prepared and not scared. I just think there's too much of that going on out there in the social media world. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about our extremes yesterday across the country. Yeah, we got a couple of extremes, almost 100 degrees. Look at that. You had 103 there in Palo, California, and we had 4 in multiple locations. I just put Peter Sinks, Utah, as the one cold spot, but also Grand Lake, Colorado, Climax, Colorado, and Daniel, Wyoming all hit 4 degrees. So you know you were in the transition, getting closer and closer to winter. We start seeing single digits popping up there on our map right now. Let's look at the big picture here as, of course, your eyes immediately get drawn, obviously, down here to our hurricane, which is moving up way here. From the United States. We got this upper level low and a lot of moisture being thrown over some cool air at the surface. So we're getting some pretty decent heavy rains here across portions of New York and Pennsylvania for this morning. Have a weak system here in the middle in the middle of the country, bringing some rains across portions of the Dakotas and into Minnesota. And we got another system coming in here on the west coast to watch, but pretty quiet across the southwest. South Central looking pretty quiet. The southeast is going to be a bit chilled for today, but they're going to start warming up as we head to the weekend. Do have a little bit of question marks on the weekend forecast for the southeast because both the European and GFS models are a little bit of a disagreement there on that forecast. All right, looking at your watches and warnings, we were talking about the frosty chill. Look at all these. A lot of freeze warnings here out here in the middle of the country. Some fog weather up this way, but we're going to see some more frosty conditions here in the days ahead across the Midwest, Southeast, especially going into Halloween. It's going to be kind of frosty out there. Definitely seeing below normal temperatures here across the eastern third of the United States. And I think it'll be short-lived, though. I think things will begin to moderate as we go in the days ahead. I'm going to kick this out of studio mode here real quick. I did not put up the radar, and I wanted to show one of the radars up here real quick. So let me get one up here, one up to New York State here. There we go. I'm going to go over here, and we're going to talk about some of these rains that are falling across New York and Pennsylvania right now. And I'm going to transition this over. There we go. And you can see some of the steadier rains there coming up through Ithaca, Birmingham, up near Syracuse, Rochester getting wet, obviously. Some pretty decent heavy rains, waves of it coming up. This is one of those days in New York where you just want to stay in bed and listen to the rainfall outside. Definitely one of those mornings, to say the least. We had that down here in Atlanta yesterday, and I was running, let's say I was running a little bit behind because I got out of bed late. But anyway, I digress. So anyway, let's talk about the tropics real quick. Again, here is our hurricane out here, obviously moving around here, moving out into the open Atlantic. A couple of weak waves out here, but we're not seeing anything out here to worry about. Again, the Caribbean's looking quiet. Gulf is looking quiet. And, we're getting ready to enter the last month of hurricane season. So, again, there's the track there on Melissa as it's going to continue to race out over the Atlantic. It's still Cat 2 hurricane, 105-mile-per-hour winds, as this thing's going to kick up some rough surf all up and down the eastern seaboard. There'll be some beach erosion with this puppy, especially the fact the wind field's gotten so massive there. So, looking at the model data here, they're pretty much all clustered. One thing, reason why I've got this looping for you here, obviously you can see which way Melissa's heading. I don't see anything else bubbling up. You don't see any lows popping up in there, so that tells me at least right through about the 8th of November, we're pretty quiet. Not going to see anything out there, and hopefully we finish up the last month with no activity out there, and we can put hurricane season 2025 to bed for the year. And obviously, if you're looking at the map here, obviously we're getting right into the first. We're sitting right about here. So we're almost done with the hurricane season. All right, so let's go over here and talk about the weather for today. We do have some active weather for you guys in the Northeast, okay? So we do have a couple things to talk about here. Obviously, we've got potential for some isolated severe thunderstorms in here. So we're talking about Philadelphia down to Washington, D.C. here, Hagerstown, Harrisburg's in this. So might see some severe weather in there. Tornado risk is running about 2%. We do have some spin in the atmosphere there. So anything that spins up is going to be pretty weak. You know, so maybe some cool air funnels on top of that. There's your wind field. Obviously, some gusty winds with some of these individual storms that could potentially come up there. And there'll be not seeing much in the way of hail. No hail into that thing, which is kind of interesting because we actually had some little small hail or grapple across portions of the South yesterday with some of those storms that flared up yesterday. So anyway, all right. So that's what we're looking at here on your day one. Now, one thing's pretty good here. Once I pull back out here, day two, nothing. Day three. Got a little bit down here along the Texas Gulf Coast, but that's about it. So it looks like for your Thursday, Friday, and going into Saturday, we're looking pretty quiet here on that front. Now, as far as excessive rainfall is concerned, we got a little bit here. Obviously, we've got that steady rains coming in. So the urban areas, New York City, New Jersey, parts of Pennsylvania, and heading into portions of Connecticut, Long Island, might see some localized heavy rains in that area. Obviously, with a lot of that rain falling up that way. As far as day 2 and 3, guess what it's showing? Not much. Out there on the West Coast a little bit. It's on Washington State, and day 3, nothing. So we're looking pretty good. Looks like we got a bit of a quiet pattern coming at us here as we get ready to roll into November here real soon. All right, so let's go look at the models here. We're going to look at the NAM 3 kilometer, 6Z just came in. So a couple features, obviously, you got the Northeast. You guys got, that's some snow, folks. Check that out. A little snow there across areas of New England. And we got this upper level low. This is going to be interesting to watch this weekend. Okay, so right now we've got that kind of spinning on down to the south here. Let me get my pin on. I didn't turn my pin on real quick. Sorry about that. So right now we've got this, they got this kicking on out. They got this upper level low here kind of dropping down into the south. The European, it doesn't really show much with it, but the GFS has kind of spread a lot of rain here across the southeast. We got to watch and see what happens with that as we go through the weekend. But this is a nice little cold core. There's a nice little, got a little snow with that, little flurries activity there. And you got a little snow there, obviously, into portions of New England as well. Middle of the country looking pretty quiet. West Coast looking quiet until we get to the end here. You got a pretty good storm system coming in here as we go out of Halloween and going into the 1st. So we got pretty good rains across the Northeast. But a lot of the country is going to be fairly quiet. But we got to have to watch, as far as weather maker is concerned, we got to watch what this upper level feature coming here is going to do. Is it going to kick up some more moisture in the Gulf or not? Like I said, European says nope, which is my preferred model. GFS is trying to be a little more aggressive with it. So we'll see what happens with that. Here's your precipitation. Obviously, the Northeast has got a lot of heavy rain up here. You see that Southeast looking pretty good. Middle of the country dry, West Coast dry. And, of course, we got that storm system here on the West Coast coming in here. Again, this is 60 hours, so it takes us out to going into November 1st, going into Saturday afternoon. All right? Now, let's take a look at the temperatures here. One thing we're starting to see as we're making that transition, we're getting deeper into fall, we're definitely seeing a little more blue showing up on the map. That means 32 degrees or below temperature starting to show up here. So we're starting to see more and more of that here as we go through time. Now, the bad thing is, relative to normal, we're going to continue to see this warm up here in the middle of the country. We've been kind of seeing that most of the fall. That looks like that's going to continue here. When I show you the climate outlook, you'll understand what I'm talking about there. All right, now with a lot of this 30-degree temperatures, remember, we're going to see a lot of frost, especially going into Halloween morning and even going into November 1st. All right, now the weather pattern here, again, we've got a difference of opinion here on what this upper level feature, which is driving down into the Gulf right there. This thing. So what the European is doing is it's burying this thing into the Gulf and just kind of drying it out. The GFS has it further north up here. So it's actually tapping moisture and throwing rains into the southeast. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy between the two models as far as how the weather's going to be going Sunday into Monday. So we'll see what tomorrow looks like when we do the weekend outlook here to see which model is the correct one. A good little experiment, but we'll see about that as this thing kind of swings on out. And then next week, fairly zonal across a lot of the country. This is Wednesday. And then we got a little weak front here coming. I got a frontal system coming in the Northeast. It's going to cool them down there. And then it kind of turns back into this progressive pattern once again. Look, 1, 2, 3. You see what it's doing there? It's bringing this troughiness back into the east once again and building this ridge back into the west. So But that's not what the Climate Prediction Center is showing right now. It's kind of got most of the country above normal as we go toward the 10th, 11th, 12th. We'll see if that changes any today. Again, model consistency. Anything beyond 7 days, we can look in to see if the model's got any kind of consistent lock-in on the pattern or not. And we also got to wait to see what the hurricane does as it goes up. Again, whenever you get typhoons, hurricanes, they go northward, they get into the buckle, the jet stream. It adjusts the long wave pattern. It globally goes around the globe, and we'll see what it does with that. We're talking like 10, 12 days down the road here, but we'll see what happens with that. All right. Now let's go look at the European model here. I'm going to swing this back on through here. Boop. Here we go. So again, we got the storm system clear in the northeast. We got the low coming down here. It's not doing, the European's not doing much with this. See that it's just kind of burying it and nothing's there. I'm going to switch this over to the European because I want to show you the difference here. Okay, so that's not showing much, but I want to show you the GFS and watch what it's doing. Again, same time period. Here's that upper low, same thing. All right, but it does not bury it into the Gulf. What it does is it brings it across the southeast. Look at the moisture. See it coming down around there, grabbing some Gulf moisture, throwing it into the south, and it could make for a wet, basically Monday next week. So we have a difference of opinion. That's the only thing that's really standing out to me as far as a forecasting problem going into early next week. Then it clears on out, but look at a big storm system on the West Coast. That's there on both models there. We know we're going to get some rain out there. But for most of the nation, we're pretty quiet. So the only fly in the ointment as far as forecasts here going into next week is going to be that southeastern thing. All right, let me go back over here to the European again. Stand by real quick. Go switch back this over. So again, we're gonna see that system come out through New England, comes on out, and that's pretty much it for next week. All right, so we got the West Coast system, and then we got to see what happens to that early system early in the week. But next week's looking fairly quiet across most of the country. All right, and here's your 10-day rainfall totals, and a lot of this is coming in for this weekend. The Northeast, West Coast, very heavy rains in the West Coast. Could be some flooding problems on Washington State. A lot of the country, high plains, Southwest looking quiet, Southeast looking fairly quiet as well, except for down maybe South Florida. But that's about it. That's your 10-day rainfall total there. All right, so let's look at your climate outlook here. Let's talk about this. Let me switch this back to temperature mode. Here we go. So the east, you're looking at either normal or below normal there across New England. A little below normal there, but normal here. Very above normal here across a lot of the west. Okay, now where we may see some changes potentially. This is the 5th to the 12th. Remember the European was showing that trophiness shots coming down out of Canada again across the eastern third. So there, if it stays consistent or not, we might start seeing some changes here as far as this portion of the country. If that trophiness, if it stays consistent, again, that's what you're looking for here. They may let that go a day or two to see if it's going to stay there or not. Now, as far as precipitation, boy, we're not going to see a whole lot. As you just saw for next week, we're dry as a bone here across the whole country, except for the West Coast. I'm not sure what they're seeing there, other than they might see some of that trophiness, that low that was trying to spin up there. Maybe that's what's picking up there. And then as far as 8 to 14 day, again, a lot of the country is what we say dry. Yeah, very dry. Obviously, we got the storm paths there coming out of Canada, coming across the northeast, and the northwest stays pretty wet as well. All right, so that is our update for those my normal viewers out there. Who we got out there this morning? We got Edith and Mick. Good to see you guys out there this morning. So we are do have the ad buy going, by the way. I made $100, so I put it back in. It runs through November 11th. So we'll add some new subscribers here to the channel. Maybe they'll check out the weather report here daily. So and I made a little money yesterday with our hurricane coverage, which is good. So I think I'm up to like $25 or something like that. So when it gets up to 100, I'll throw it back into the channel, and I'll try to give this a little more love to try to push our numbers up a little bit here and keep this as a viable thing for YouTube, because if you don't give YouTube some love, it'll ignore you. So anyway, appreciate you guys checking us out here for this morning. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow. We'll get you ready for the weekend, but not looking too bad though. You guys take it easy.